Okay, here's the next one. For these other little videos, I'm going to try to offer some suggestions on possible paper topics so that if you can pick a paper topic fairly quickly, then that will guide your reading and you'll be able to focus on what you need to write a successful paper. We'll talk later in the week or maybe next week about the specific requirements. But this paper does need to be a literary analytical paper or in some other way deal with the material that we've covered in class. And the reason I haven't made a reading list is number one, it would be impossible to read the entire Old Testament. There's too much material and it's way too complicated to cover in a 16-week class. So I am going to pick and choose, but I want to pick and choose based upon what your interests are. So I'm waiting for subjects and topics to come up in the discussions from you, and then when some of you propose a possible topic, then I can say, well, yeah, that sounds like it would be a good paper topic, or it sounds like it wouldn't be. And if it sounds like it would be a good paper topic, then I'll suggest ways to pursue that and turn out a decent paper for this class. What I have to say again, and I'm probably going to keep saying it till you're sick of hearing it, what your paper cannot be is some defense of your religious position or some defense of a non-religious position. If your paper turns out to be just a defense or justification for your set of personal beliefs, that's not going to be successful for two reasons. Number one, it's not the purpose of this class. And number two, I'm not a theologian, so I'm not capable of evaluating a paper that defends a theological stance. I have a degree in religion, and I know something about most of the major Christian doctrines, but that's the limit of my knowledge and experience. I'm completely incompetent to evaluate a theological paper for you. So if you give me a theological paper defending some personal belief system or lack thereof, you're giving me a paper that, number one, is not what the class is asking you to do, and number two, you're asking me to evaluate something in which I'm not competent to evaluate it. So that's going to be pretty frustrating on my part, so don't do that. If you have any questions, please ask, and I'm glad to help. But if you find yourself defending your personal belief system, stop. Find something else to write about. Okay, so in this first video, some of you have asked about the possibility of doing comparisons, and I think that's a great idea. It helps this material become universal in scope, and it gives us a very broad perspective. So it is possible to do a comparative approach between this tradition and some other literature. For instance, the magical garden at the beginning of the second creation account. That's everywhere. That's all over the world. It's a universal symbol. And the elements, the man and the woman, the fruit at the center, some kind of guardian guarding the tree, a dragon or a snake usually, those are almost universal in Western culture. So it would be possible to take the magic garden, what I call the magic garden motif, and expand it into a comparison of this one with two or three others. And draw some interesting and useful comparisons. Particularly this magical garden one, there's a lovely passage in Toni Morrison's novel Beloved that is a riff on the magic garden. So there's one possibility for comparison. The creation story, the first one, the story of the creation of the known world. Again, there are universal versions of that, and they share some similar characteristics and some characteristics that are unique to the culture. For instance, in the Judeo-Christian one we're looking at, the surface of the universe is water, usually, or some unformed thing. In an iteration of this same story in some of the Scandinavian countries, the surface of the Earth or the universe is originally covered with ice. Well, big surprise, huh? But the story is the same, and the mythology and the elements are fairly similar. So there's another possible comparison with creation stories of this one and 2 or 3 other cultures. The story of Noah and the flood shares some interesting parallels with the story of the Epic of Gilgamesh from Babylonian culture. The story of Moses, which you're going to read pretty soon, has similar elements. So we're not so much interested in saying, well, you know, this one came before that one or that one came before this one, as much as we are in establishing what scholars call intertextuality, that there are similar elements in many of these cultural stories. And by examining those similarities, one can make some profound statements about the way human beings view their world and their experience with both the regular, mundane, and the sacred. It can be a very profound study. I've done quite a bit of that myself. So if you'd like me to guide you along this route of comparing this story with others, I'm happy to do that. But that's one possibility for a good paper. And if you let me guide you, or if you need my guidance, I'm happy to do so. If you don't, that's fine too. There's plenty of material out there, and most of it's quite approachable. So that's one possibility among several others that so far has come up in our discussion. So I'm going to stop, post this video, and then make the next one. Okay, bye.